The subway platform hummed with the familiar rhythm of evening commuters. Marcus Chen had seen this scene 1,000 times. The same tired faces, the same fluorescent lights casting their pale glow over everything. At 34, with a worn backpack slung over his shoulder, he'd learned that most people in the city kept their eyes down, their problems to themselves. But tonight was different. Sitting on the platform's edge was a young woman, maybe 22 or 23, with long blonde hair that caught the station's lights. She wore a light blue blouse and a navy skirt, clothes that seemed too elegant for someone sitting on the ground. Her gray heels lay beside her, and she was crying. Not the quiet, hidden tears most people shed in public, but real, shoulder-shaking sobs. Marcus paused. His mother's voice echoed in his mind, the same words she'd told him since he was a boy. When someone's hurting, you stop. You just stop. He approached slowly, careful not to startle her, and crouched down to her level. "Hey," he said gently. "Are you okay? Can I help with something?" She looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes, mascara streaked down her cheeks. There was something lost in her expression, something that reminded Marcus of a deer caught in headlights. I need to make a call," she stammered. "But my phone died and I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Without hesitation, Marcus pulled his phone from his pocket. It was an older model, nothing fancy, but it worked. "Here," he said, placing it in her trembling hands. "Take your time. I'm not in a rush." She stared at the phone as if it were the most precious thing in the world. "You're just giving this to me? You don't even know me." Marcus smiled softly. "Well, you look like you need it more than I do right now. Make your call. I'll be right here." Her name, she told him after a moment, was Sarah. Sarah Mitchell. She dialed with shaking fingers, and Marcus stepped back a few feet to give her privacy. He watched the trains come and go, the crowd thinning as the evening grew later. When she finally ended the call, there were fresh tears on her face. But these seemed different. Lighter somehow. "Thank you," she whispered, handing back his phone. "You have no idea what that meant to me." "You're welcome," Marcus said, settling down beside her on the platform. Something told him she needed more than just a phone call. "Do you want to talk about it? Sometimes it helps." Sarah was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. Then, slowly, the story began to spill out. She came from money, real money, the kind where your last name opened doors and your family's expectations closed others. Her father owned a chain of luxury hotels across the country. Her mother sat on charity boards and planned galas. Sarah was supposed to marry Richard Whitmore, a businessman 20 years her senior, someone her parents had chosen for his portfolio and connections. "I was standing at the altar 3 hours ago," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, wearing a dress that cost more than most people's cars. "Looking at a man I barely knew. And I just couldn't." "So you ran," Marcus said. "So I ran." She let out a breath that was almost a laugh. "Left everything. My purse, my phone, my whole life. I just walked out in my wedding dress, changed in a department store bathroom, and ended up here." She gestured at the subway station. "I called my grandmother just now. She's the only one who might understand." Marcus thought about his own life, his small apartment in Queens, his job as a freelance photographer, the modest but honest way he lived. "That took courage," he said. "Walking away from all that?" "Or stupidity," Sarah countered. "No." Marcus shook his head firmly. "Staying would have been stupid. Living someone else's life because it's easier, that's not living at all." They sat in comfortable silence as another train rushed past, wind whipping through the station. Marcus found himself thinking about his own choices. The corporate job he'd left 5 years ago, the path everyone said was crazy. He'd struggled, certainly, but he'd never regretted it. "Can I tell you something my mother used to say?" Marcus asked. "She passed away 2 years ago, but her words, they stick with you." Sarah nodded, turning to face him. "She'd say that the truest measure of a person isn't what they gain, but what they're willing to lose for what matters. She was a school teacher for 40 years, never made much money, but she was happy. Really happy." He smiled at the memory. "She taught me that kindness doesn't cost anything, but it's worth everything." She sounds like she was wonderful, Sarah said softly. She was. Marcus cleared his throat, emotion rising. She would have liked you. She always said it takes strength to start over. I'm terrified, Sarah admitted. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've never even had a real job. My grandmother said she'd help me, but I don't know who I am without my family's name. Then you get to find out, Marcus said. That's the gift in all this, isn't it? Getting to discover who Sarah Mitchell really is, without anyone else writing the story. They talked for another hour, about dreams and regrets, about the lives they'd imagined and the ones they'd lived. Marcus told her about his photography, how he captured moments of ordinary beauty in the city. Sarah confessed she'd always wanted to teach art but was told it wasn't practical. Practical, Marcus repeated, shaking his head. That word has killed more dreams than failure ever. Has. When Sarah's grandmother finally arrived, an elegant woman in her 70s with kind eyes and a warm embrace. She pulled Marcus. Aside, young man, she said, pressing a business card into his hand. Thank you for showing my granddaughter that there's still decency in this world. If you ever need anything at all, you call me. Marcus looked at the card, Eleanor Mitchell, and an address in Connecticut. I didn't do it for a reward, he said. I know, Eleanor replied, her eyes bright. That's exactly why I'm giving it to you. As he watched them leave, Sarah turned back one last time and waved. Marcus waved back, a smile crossing his face. He rode the subway home that night thinking about the strange ways lives intersect, how a moment of simple kindness can ripple out in ways you never expect. His mother had been right, as always. When someone's hurting, you stop. You just stop. 3 months later, Marcus received a letter. Sarah had enrolled in art school. She was working part-time at a gallery. She'd cut ties with her parents, at least for now, though she hoped they'd come around eventually. She was scared, she wrote, but she was also free, and at the bottom of the letter, in careful handwriting. Thank you for reminding me that strangers can be kinder than family, and that the right path isn't always the easy one. You changed my life with a simple gesture. I hope I can pass that forward. Marcus pinned the letter to his refrigerator, right next to a photo of his mother. He thought she'd approve of that placement. In a world that so often tells us to look the other way, to mind our own business, to protect what's ours, sometimes the bravest thing we can do is simply stop. Offer our hand, share what we have, because you never know whose life you might change, or how they might change yours. The city kept moving, as cities do. But on that subway platform on that ordinary evening, 2 people had found something extraordinary. A reminder that kindness still matters, that courage comes in many forms, and that sometimes the greatest gift we can give is simply being present when someone needs us most. Marcus never used Eleanor's business card. He didn't need to. The real reward was already his, the knowledge that when it mattered, he'd chosen compassion over convenience. That was enough. That was everything. And somewhere in the city, Sarah Mitchell was building a life on her own terms, one brave choice at a time. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes. And sometimes the stranger who stops to help is exactly the person we needed to meet.